In 2012, the Bangladesh Ministry of Education wrote an education policy which was created to try to restrict the use of private tutors for students. Education Policy 2012 stipulates that teachers can provide services at their residence to a maximum of 10 students belonging to other institutions, but only after the teacher's school and the student's school authorize it. This policy was not received well by teachers, students, and parents. In 2016, the Bangladesh Supreme Court determined that the policy is constitutional and it will stay. Bangladesh has an education problem. The problem is that a lot of students' learning is not taking place inside of the classroom. Instead, most parents opt to send their children to both school and private tutors. Parents believe that their child needs this extra time to study because that is what their experience was as children, and because there is little to no regulation of the schools. The government-run schools are controlled by the Ministry of Education, but there are too many schools with too little funding to know what's happening at each school. The Anti-Corruption Committee found that teachers and administration were working together to run after-school tutoring to bring more money. The majority of children who attended government schools are very poor. Private schools are plentiful and unregulated. Many schools run for years before the Education Ministry even finds out about them. Even the well-known private schools ignore Policy 2012 in order to bring in more money. Teachers need to tutor students because they earn most of their monthly income through tutoring. The Dhaka Tribune surveyed 27,000 people from around Bangladesh and found that parents spend about 10% more on private tutors than they do on monthly school tuition costs. This applies to both rural and urban schools. The poorer families whose children attend government schools to the wealthy families whose children attend English medium or international schools. In a paper written by Bangladeshi university professors and supported by an article in the Dhaka Tribune, the many authors found that most teachers were requiring their students to attend private tutoring, and if the student did not attend, the student's grade would automatically be marked lower. The Anti-Corruption Committee, along with the Ministry of Education, worked to enforce Policy 2012, but despite the efforts of the government, the policy is being strongly ignored because the school boards know that forcing their teachers and students to comply is not an option. There's just too much competition among the thousands of schools in Bangladesh. A typical day for a Bangladeshi student or teacher begins around 6 a.m. They go to school until 3. Students will generally take a nap from about 4 to 6 or 6 to 8. Teachers start tutoring their students as soon as their classes are finished at 3 o'clock and continue to tutor different groups of students until 10 p.m. It is typical for a Bangladeshi family to eat dinner around 10 or 11 p.m. Bedtime varies, but usually not before midnight for both students and teachers. There is very little time in the schedule for play and rest, which contributes strongly to burnout. Many students report that teachers rush through lessons with large class sizes, so the students are not able to understand the material. Their supplemental tutoring is where they take more personal time with the teacher to understand the content. Even where I work, which is part of the U.S. Embassy and outside of the Bangladesh government control, we see Bangladeshi students continue to receive tutoring because they worry about the exams and grades more than the learning. A few students have been known to pay their tutors to complete homework for them to ensure the grade that they want. The final reason why private tutoring continues is because of the intense pressure on students to pass their exams. Even students with free government education have to pay for their tests, and if they do not do well, they cannot move on in their education. In a country as overpopulated as Bangladesh, the students feel a lot of pressure to compete for their exam marks so they can get the job and the money that they'll need to thrive. The pressure to do well on these exams leads students and parents to cheat, bribe, or do pretty much anything to ensure that the student succeeds. Policy 2012 comes from the right idea of fixing the education system in Bangladesh, but it does not address or fix the much bigger and more complicated problems that drive parents, students, and teachers to have private tutoring.